This Saturday night, All Elite Wrestling present the 4th annual Full Gear pay-per-view from the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, where big returns will take place and new champions will be crowned. The Elite will return to AEW for the first time since their suspension after the all-out backstage altercation. Saraya returns to the ring for the first time since 2018, with her finally being cleared to compete, whilst the devil himself, MJF, looks to finally reach the mountaintop of AEW, with him set to challenge world champion Jon Moxley for the title. So without any further ado, let's look at the AEW Full Gear 2022 card as I tried to guess the winners and losers for each match. Firstly, let's talk about Sting and Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, which will see the last Outlaw make his in-ring All Elite debut. I think Lethal and Jarrett will win this one through interference from their buddies, Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh, marking Jeff's debut with a win and continuing the rivalry to lead to some singles matches later down the line. Next, we have the AEW TBS champion Jade Cargill defending against the self-proclaimed TBS champion Nyla Rose, who has had possession of Jade's title belt for a number of weeks. Cargill is currently in the midst of a 20-month undefeated streak, with her TBS title reign lasting for 316 days of that time, seeing off any challenges with relative ease. Whilst Nyla will pose more of a threat to the title due to his sheer size advantage, something that's usually in the favour of Cargill, I don't see AEW ending the streak just yet, so I'll go with a Jade Cargill victory for this one. Next up, things get personal as Jungle Boy gets locked inside a steel cage with his former tag team partner and former fellow tag team champion Luchasaurus, a match which Jack requested himself. As of late, Luchasaurus has decided to side with Christian Cage in the ongoing battle of the Jurassic Express, with his heel run adding an interesting dimension to his character. With that said, Jungle Boy, who is slowly transitioning away from his gimmick name to become simply Jack Perry, is on a path of his own to reach his potential as a top-level talent. One of those steps is growing facial hair, another is taking the Jungle Boy name away, and the third should be to come out on top in this feud against Luchasaurus and Christian Cage before moving him up the card to something new. So for this, let's go with a Jungle Boy, Jack Perry win. Next up, we see the AEW TNT Championship on the line as Wardlow defends against the fellow titans of the ring, Powerhouse Hobbs and the ROH television champion Samoa Joe. When it comes to Joe, it's possible that AEW want to reduce the champions that they have by creating a new double champion, although if this were to happen, I feel his TV title would have been on the line in an all or nothing situation. As for Hobbs, I would love for him to win the TNT belt, but I still think it's too early for Wardlow to drop it. I actually can't see him ever losing it if I'm honest, and I think it'll be a case of him vacating it to earn a world title shot in the future. But for the here and now, let's go with a win for the War Dog. And next up, I think we have an easy match to predict, as Saraya is set to return to the ring for the first time in almost 5 years, after she was forced to retire in 2018 due to a neck injury, with her opponent being Dr. Britt Baker DMD, who has positioned herself as the gatekeeper of AEW. With it being her first match back, it only makes sense for Saraya to walk away with the win, but I don't think that's where her night will end. As an extra prediction, I'm going to throw it out there and say that Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Varnado, or Mercedes Money, the term she recently trademarked, will appear at the end to help Saraya in the numbers game against Britt, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel, marking the big surprise moment of the night. The story writes itself here, with it being Mercedes' kick that forced Saraya to retire in the first place, aiding her friend at the conclusion of the match. Chris Jericho puts his ROH World Championship on the line next in what is almost a tag team match, with his opponents being his fellow Jericho Appreciation Society member Sammy Guevara, as well as Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson of the Blackpool Combat Club. On Dynamite, Claudio would force Jericho to tap out in a tag match involving all 4 men, positioning him as the strong favourite to win the belt, at least in storyline. However, I think it will be his stablemate Bryan Danielson who wins this one, although I was torn between him and Jericho. I did have the feeling that Jericho would hold onto the belt before eventually losing it to Daniel Garcia, but I also see a match between Garcia and Bryan for the title making sense later down the line. So yeah, Bryan Danielson wins this one and becomes the face of Ring of Honor as we hopefully get closer to an ROH television deal announcement. Next up, the interim AEW Women's World title will be defended by Toni Storm against her former friend and former roommate Jamie Hayter. Hayter has been on quite the rise as of late, often receiving big cheers from the crowd with her in-ring work speaking for itself. This could set up an opportunity to create a crowning moment for the rising star, and I wouldn't be against it. However, I feel Toni's reign is only just getting started. Before she loses the belt, she needs to at least become the linear AEW Women's World Champion first, whether that be through the return of the actual champion Thunder Rosa before beating her, or perhaps through Rosa being stripped of the title, something Storm called for in an interview this week. So yeah, for now, Hayter's time isn't quite yet, but I wouldn't rule out a run with the belt soon, or she could even be the one to end Jade Cargill's streak. Everybody loves the Acclaimed, and everybody is tuning in to see them retain their AEW tag team titles against Swerve in Our Glory's Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. How they get there is another question. Swerve and Lee have been teasing a split for a while now, with Strickland slowly turning heel whilst Keith has been trying to keep things in order. It's likely that this will come to head this Saturday, setting up a feud between the two men going forward, and that could be by Swerve walking out on Lee. Either way, Bowens and Caster walk away as still champions. And before we get to the main event of the show, let's talk about the most predictable match of the night as the Elite return to AEW to challenge for the trio's titles that they never lost when they take on Pac, Rey Fenix, and Penta El Zero Miedo. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks were of course suspended after the all-out backstage incident involving CM Punk and Ace Steel, with their return coming after the conclusion of an internal investigation. I don't think anybody expects Death Triangle to win this one, and neither do I, as the Elite will win back the belts that were literally created for them, returning to lead the trios division going forward. And finally, let's get to the main event of the night as Jon Moxley puts his AEW World Championship on the line against MJF, who finally gets another shot at the top prize in the company. The first time Max challenged Mox for the title was in September 2020 in Moxley's previous reign, with the Salt of the Earth falling short thanks to the champion using the Forbidden Paradigm Shift behind the referee's back. I feel like we will get a similar finish this time around involving William Regal's Brass Knucks, a big focus of the storyline so far. Let's remember that Max ruled out the usage of the Dynamite Diamond Ring in the lead up to the match in order to win fair and square, with many predicting that Regal will turn on Moxley by handing MJF the Brass Knucks instead, something that he didn't say he wouldn't use. My prediction isn't too far from this, but I don't think it'll be Max that Regal helps, but Moxley, leading to a double turn with Mox becoming a top heel, whilst Max takes his role as the face of AEW. The question is, will this lead to a Jon Moxley win, or will MJF be able to overcome the assist to win the title? Well, I think it's time to finally pull the trigger on the MJF World title win, and anything short of that would be seen as a big disappointment. So Mox turns, tries to win with the Brass Knucks, Max kicks out, and eventually wins the title. I feel like any more attempts to try and make the fans boo Max will be awkwardly received, because no matter how he wins the belt, the crowd will erupt in cheers. So embrace the fans, create a series of top heels for him to challenge in the process in the form of the Blackpool Combat Club, as well as Ethan Page, who I think is going to win the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament, continuing the feud with the Firm as a face. This doesn't necessarily mean that Max has to start kissing babies and hugging kids in the front row. He can keep the same attitude, but just adjust it slightly, and you've got yourself the modern day Stone Cold Steve Austin. Whether this fantasy booking plays out remains to be seen, but no matter how he gets there, Maxwell Jacob Friedman leaves AEW Full Gear 2022 as your new AEW World Champion. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 masked AEW wrestlers unmasked.